I did have, I was taken back to past lives. I was, as I say, I was taken back to my source, and then I was shown past lives, which were seemed like very simple little lives. You start the session with me, and next thing I know, because I'm just, you're still in that sort of, oh, I wonder what'll happen sort of stage. And then next thing I'm hovering off this planet in the middle of space, and you're still a part of you that's thinking, what, what in here? Where did that come from?
Thanks for joining me. My name is Ian Beaton, and I'll be conducting a testimonial experience of one of my QHHT sessions that I conducted almost a year ago. But yeah, I'm here today with Karen. Thanks again, Karen, for coming along. I will switch you there, bring you into the screen. And yes, where do we begin? It's been a year. It's over a year.
Yeah.
And obviously, you reached out for a QHHT session. How did you discover about QHHT?
I was on social media, and I followed Dolores Cannon's stuff on Facebook, and QHHT came up, and I thought something about it drew me in, and I started searching for therapists in Scotland, and I found you.
There you go. I know. There's a lot of people that find me through Dolores Cannon, the QHHT official, and just various other directories, and she left a big legacy, and her work was amazing. It's great to be able to. This is my QHHT certificate over my shoulder there, and very proud to have it. And it's QHHT is it's an amazing experience. But what can you talk about within your session? How was your experience?
I would say I came up. I always just follow my gut, and part of going to you as a therapist was following my gut. You felt like the right fit, but I didn't. It's like if I go and see a film, I don't like to read too much about the film. I like to just go and have that experience. So I had no expectations when I arrived. I didn't really know what was going to happen. I wasn't particularly curious about past lives. I wasn't experiencing any trauma. I haven't had particularly deep trauma in my life. But as I say, I just felt drawn to have a session.
No, because obviously, I say that to all my clients, not to have any expectation about what could possibly come up within a session, because we just don't know. With QHHT, we're kind of working with your higher self. Dolores Cannon referred it to as the subconscious or the SC if you read her books. But there's no real name to this part of you. It's the bigger part of you that is you, that knows everything about what you need to get from a session. And when you look back at your session, though, how much of your experience fitted into your life and your situation? How much relations can you draw from your past life experience and your current life?
I think I was probably, without realizing it, I've always led, I hate using the word spiritual life, I've always followed my gut. I try and meditate, and I try and live a life where, I'm not causing pain to other people, that kind of thing. So without realizing it, though, I probably needed that. I always had a sense that I wasn't from here, that I was from a planet somewhere, as most of us are. But it actually put me into, the session took me right back to source, and that was incredibly powerful, because in lots of ways, if you go in with anyone with an ego sort of stomping in there, we always think that we're really special. We are all special, little individuals. But part of that whole process, being at my source and feeling the light and the color and the love that I experienced there, I can take that with me wherever I am now in my life. There's a total acceptance of everything happening for the right reasons. There's nothing bad happens. It's all pointing us in the next direction, in the right direction, or the direction we're meant to be taking. It just gives you such a sense of inner peace.
Yeah, a lot of my clients have experienced that whole going back home, the source energy, that feeling, and they sometimes they crave that experience. Sometimes they want to go back.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
we have a job to do in this life, obviously, but yeah, it can be. It's, and if you watch near-death experiences, they all describe the same sort of thing. It gives it validity. It gives this work validity, but it also gives the experience validity as well. When you hear so many these near-death experiences becoming so more and more publicized on Facebook now, but 10 years ago it was unheard of. You would just think it as woo-woo. But now we're starting to see these experiences, catalog them, and then obviously as practitioners, we're cataloging the same experiences. So it's great. It gives it it makes this work extremely exciting, obviously, because we just don't know what the client is going to experience during the session. So obviously, what positive shifts did you take from that experience moving in?
I think I came out of the session, and I remember driving back down from Inverness and feeling just peaceful. It validated everything that I felt, which was there is a greater being, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter. There's that source. I just keep calling it source. Sorry, not ask me to upgrade something. So any time that there's so much trauma in the world just now, so much upset, and it just helps me. I've always felt that doesn't matter. You just sent out love and light and everything. But for me, I can draw that experience in like every morning when I have a little quiet meditation to myself, and I'm not so hippie that I'm spending hours meditating every day, but just in those first few minutes of waking, thanking whatever for the day, and I'm just back at my source. I can feel that energy, I can feel that light, and I can feel that sort of permeating my whole body every morning, and it's lovely.
So it's a lovely knowing, isn't it? And it basically it is. I think I try to say that to clients that when they've had that experience of knowing what it feels like, they can take that away and just know when that intuition is giving them a message or guidance post session. It's not like this connection ever is severed. In fact, it's only magnified because of that knowing of what it feels like to connect to your higher self, or to connect to any higher source of guidance. So once you recognize it, it's like it's like an old friend. And you're comfortable with it. And as you develop the relationship with yourself, it only becomes a stronger tool to use in your day-to-day life. So it's good. It's good that you're showing signs of that. And how many times have you gone back and watched your session? Because obviously,
I only did it a couple of times after the session because I don't know. I just didn't feel the need, because it wasn't. I was taken back to past lives. As I say, I was taken back to my source, and then I was shown past lives, which seemed like very simple little lives. I've gone on workshops over the years where people have, they all want to be something really special, and everybody's an emperor and everybody's a queen or something. But one of mine that I was shown was I was a milkmaid, and I just love being back there and having that experience with the cows and milking, but it was the simplicity of the lives that I was shown, and understanding what it was about those simple lives that gave me an understanding of what it is I'm supposed to be doing in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And when I've been sort of having, internal dialogue about, oh, I maybe shouldn't be doing that with that person, or taking someone out of my life, or, being more considerate or whatever, I understand now why I have to be independent and strong and in control of my life. That's what I'm here to do.
Yeah, you can see how the past life shows
Yeah.
and teaches you that. Yeah. No, it's very ingenious how the higher self works when it does show you these
Yeah.
images that come from these past life experiences.
Mm-hmm.
The what would you say was probably the most standout part of your session then?
I think that being with my source,
Mm.
and watching when I was there with this incredible, it wasn't just one being, I felt like there was so much support and love from where this source was coming,
Yeah.
but it was also, when I was there, I was, as I say, that your ego can't survive that session, because at the end of it, I was watching in that experience, when I was back where I'm from, I was watching thousands of little lights flying back and forth to
Mhm.
source, leaving, coming back, leaving, just thousands of little lights. And I understood that I was just one of those little lights. And it's humbling, but it's great, and
Yeah.
it's incredible,
I, Correct me if I'm wrong. Did I use a section of your session for one of my previous YouTube videos?
I
Am
think I think you
It sounds
did, yeah.
yeah, it sounds very familiar with
I
what
think
you're
you
talking
did,
about.
yeah.
Because yeah, the soul's coming and going. Yeah, it's that experience has happened in
Yeah,
previous
at the
session.
speed, yeah. And understanding that there's no time,
Mhm.
it's all happening at the same time. And but I recognized those little beings, those little beads of light, little sparkles. I knew them. I was part of them, but I knew them. And there were no faces, there was nothing. It was just light,
Yeah,
you know.
pretty much the spark of light that's in each and every person.
Yeah.
The little spark of creation that we carry with
You
us,
know,
our soul.
yeah, many years ago, I landed up in a sort of, I didn't know it was going to be past life thing, but I was working with some friends, and I remember the experience of death. And I remember, I thought, okay, now I'm dead in this lifetime. And I remember going at, it was like Star Trek movie, warp factor, whatever,
Yeah,
zooming through space. And I knew I was just a light. And then this explosion of light at the end of it, and knowing that I was back where I was supposed to be, back home.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so it just kind of, it confirmed that again for me, that wasn't just some crazy thing happening in my mind. That's really where I'm from. That's where I belong.
yeah.
Mm.
And post after your session, in the days and weeks that followed, how long would you say it took for your session to process? Or
I
are you
would
still
say
processing it?
I no, I would say it was almost immediate.
Yeah,
Um, because I had a belief system before. I don't know.
yeah,
Um, yeah, maybe, yeah, it's sort of immediate. I just thought, okay, yeah, I'm fine. I'm on the right track. I don't have to beat myself up about certain things any longer. This is what I'm meant to do. This is what I'm meant to feel. This is why I feel a certain way. Just that complete understanding of what this life is all about. You know?
yeah, yeah. That's great. That's great. I mean, some people obviously take a few days, and some people, maybe a couple of weeks, and watching back the session kind of helps with that. Did
Yeah.
When you watched back the session for the first time, how did that feel watching yourself?
It was strange because even though you think you've remembered everything, you haven't. Um, but it was quite sweet. As I say, the simplicity of the lifetimes that I was shown. There was just nothing grand. It was just all beautifully simple and easy. Even in one of them, I went through a death experience, which was beautiful. And I remember saying in the session, "Oh, that was easy," you know.
It's
Um,
sometimes what clients report as the most beautiful part, of the past life experience itself.
yeah,
The
yeah,
transition, and
yeah.
yeah, not all souls have the same fate, but
No, but
definitely
again,
it's the transition.
understanding, yeah, understanding that that's their choice.
Yeah,
We are choosing every little minuscule aspect of our lives, and
yeah,
for anyone, I think for anybody who goes through life thinking, "Oh, poor me, and I'm a victim," it might be a tough a
yeah.
tough session for them because you can't be a victim anymore. You
No,
chose it, mate. One of the benefits of the session was being able to share it with a friend of mine who'd recently lost her husband.
beautiful.
Um, and it was so wonderful to be able to show her the simplicity of it all, the choices that we make, the soul agreements that we have with people, and giving someone an understanding of why they've been left here when their partner has gone or their parent is gone. I think is wonderful to help with. I think when someone dies, if you go to a funeral, I was at one just the other day, and everyone's crying, and I'm thinking they're so lucky.
I know
They're so lucky. I know where they're going. It's wonderful back there, and I mean, you don't dance around a funeral or a wake saying, "Oh,
no,
yay, lucky them," but just to have that peace
exactly.
inside, knowing that it's not sad. It's
No.
really not sad.
I think I once heard somebody say that when you come into this life, you come in bawling your eyes out, like the screaming baby.
Yes.
You're like, and then when you leave, everyone else is bawling their eyes out,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and so yeah,
You know,
it's
I had a very interesting experience with my. I've got a great niece and nephew, twins, and when the little boy was just a baby, they were premature. So the second time I met him and I was able to hold him, he looked at me and he said, "Do I have to stay?"
how
And I
old?
said, "Yeah."
How old?
He was a couple of weeks old.
Yeah, you
And
picked
it
up
it
that.
just kind of not. I'm telling a lie. It wasn't the second time I saw him. It was the third time I saw him, and he looked into my eyes and he just said, "Oh." There was just a kind of, "Oh, do I have to stay?" And I
Yeah,
said, again, equally telepathically, I couldn't, weird. I said, "Yes, you have to stay, but you're really lucky because you've landed in a wonderful place." Um,
yeah.
but just that his sister was completely different. She was like, "Yeah, hey, I'm here. I'm going to have a ball." But he was just, "Oh, I'm not sure about this. I'd kind of like to go back."
That's what
So,
causes a lot of conflict in people's lives, when they've made that decision to come to, especially if they've come as a new soul and they are not used to this
yeah,
density, not used to how the planet, because, you know, souls are coming to this planet all the time. And yes, they have been reincarnated several lifetimes, if not, you know, thousands of
100.
times, hundreds and thousands. There's no limit really. So a new soul coming to this planet will be just, yeah, they'll be like really
What the
struggling,
heck? Yeah.
and that's what adds to the personality of that person
Mhm.
growing up.
Mhm.
Are they recluse? Are they a people person? Um, are they talkative? Are they shy? It will, because they're not used to the circumstances. It's interesting to know that you're, you know, almost like tapping into their intuition, or you're connecting on some level with
It was lovely, just that wide-eyed little stare of his,
yeah,
saying, do
yeah,
I really have to stay?
awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. But getting back onto obviously the hypnotherapy with your session, if you had somebody who was looking for a hypnotherapy experience, how would you, what would you say to them? How would you guide them, or give,
I would
pass on some
say,
wisdom?
just go sit back and relax, and you'll think the whole time, oh, there's nothing happening here, you know. Oh no, there's nothing happening, and you'll be thinking about other things at the same time, but you're being hypnotized, you know. I think I've had hypnosis before, but I think with the session with you, it felt a lot deeper. It did feel very different.
Yeah.
But yeah, you still have that part of your consciousness that's thinking, this is I'm fully conscious here. I can get up, walk around, do the dishes, But yeah,
That's the us practitioners have to work with nearly every single client that comes along. Will have that the background chatter voice, the monkey chatter, that we get within their sessions. And like I say, I always instruct the client to ignore it and allow that part of their mind to take a back seat, because it's going to learn something today. And it's you're talking to it, but you're not. If you kind of you're doing this subliminal talking to it in the pre-talk of a session, and getting the client to obviously ignore it, because you're just following the images and the symbols. How would you describe those images that came up within your experience? Because a lot of people maybe think, okay, what am I going to see? What am I going to experience with it? But how would you describe the visuals and the realism or whatever that you experienced?
well, for me, I'm sure everybody's very different, but for
Yeah,
me, I was actually there. I could see what I was wearing. I could feel what I was feeling. The thing, the lifetime with being the milkmaid, I could feel the cow. I could, even now, just even talking about it, I can feel the cow on the side of my cheek, as I was leaning in to milk it.
yeah.
So yeah, you are there. When we started the session, you start the session with me, and next thing I know, because I'm just, you're still in that sort of, oh, I wonder what'll happen sort of stage, and then next thing I'm hovering off this planet in the middle of space, and you're still a part of you that's thinking, what,
Yeah,
what in here? Where did that come from? You know, I think you're always thinking, oh, I've just made that up.
yeah,
This isn't real. But you realize after a couple, well, I suppose if you've had hypnosis a few times, you realize actually it's not you thinking, it's your experience.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Nearly every single client will say, I think I made that up, but we're using the same mechanics of the brain that works with your imagination. The visualization part of the session is using the same part that we use to imagine. So this is why we get it all confused. We're just crossing the wires. Yeah, and the thing that makes it real is the emotions. The emotions that you get from the experience makes it real, and emotions cannot be faked. You know,
No, I think,
so
yeah, because I think I was in tears within about 20 seconds with my session, because I
yeah,
realized that sense of being back home
yeah,
was so intense.
powerful.
Yeah, really, really
Yeah,
lovely.
and yet what was convenient for you for the session, appropriate for you for the session, and was what was um, you know given to you by your higher self. It was just divinely ordained, I guess. It's just perfect for your journey, and like I say, every single session I've had is very individual. There's no two people that are the same, so there's no two sessions that are the same. So yeah, yeah. So yeah, how would you What would you say to somebody who was nervous about hypnotherapy?
I can understand that someone is nervous because, you know, people watch Paul McKenna, who by the way I rate immensely because
Oh
I did
yes.
NLP training with him. But you know, they watch people like that on TV and think, oh, it's just all a joke. But actually, I would say just give in to the experience. And if you're a control freak, I suppose it's difficult, you
Yeah.
know, or if you're very analytical and you're, because even, you know, me going into it thinking, well, this will be good and I've had hypnosis before, there's still that little part of you saying, you know, is this real? Is this really happening? But I think I understand, I can understand someone being nervous about it, but it's easy for me to say there's nothing to be nervous of.
Yeah.
You know,
No.
it's a lovely experience. I have never had a bad hypnosis session. I haven't had millions, you know, I've probably had about 4 or 5 sessions before I saw you.
Mhm.
But each one has been extremely useful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And overall, how did you rate your experience?
10 out of
Would
10.
would you do it again?
Yeah, I would. I
Yeah.
would. But you know, and I've thought, oh, I could go and, but I don't want to be a, you know, a QHHT junkie. You know,
No.
it's a long way for that. Just to go back and have that experience, I can have that experience,
Mhm.
as I've said already, source every single morning, or any
Yeah.
time I sit quietly and meditate. When I'm out walking the dogs in the woods, I can remember, I can bring that experience in, and it's peaceful and it's soothing and it's calming.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's, yeah. I think I I would go back if I felt that I had something to go back for. And right now I don't, because I feel like, not again, not from an egotistical point of view, but I feel like I know it all.
Mhm.
You know, I know
We,
what I'm doing here. I know how it works. You come, you have a lifetime, you learn that lesson, you shoot back, you do it all again, or we do it all the time in different places, parallel
yeah.
lives, whatever. So I don't feel like there's anything that I need from it. So if I came back, it would be because, hey, it was really good, you know, I'd like to do that again.
That's the beauty about QHHT with regards to how many sessions you need, or most of my sessions, you know, whether it's QHHT or other forms of hypnotherapy or mindfulness stuff that I do, one session is usually enough, and enough to last for that part of, you know, your life, that chapter in your life, which could be a decade, it could be,
Yeah.
like, we don't know, but generally one QHHT is a great tool because obviously you're tapping into the higher self. Like I said before, you're recognizing the signature, the energy, the frequency of your higher self. So you know exactly how to tap into it again through meditation, through dreams, through a walk in the countryside,
Mm-hmm.
or when you're sharing time with you know, your animals,
Mm-hmm.
being around children, whoever it is, you're getting that information through when you're open to it, and that's your everyone's innate guidance system that we all
Yeah.
have. It's just so happens that it's to come along for a QHHC session or any practice for that to be able to tune into that and be able to recognize it whenever you need it.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
therefore you become your own therapist then. You don't need another session really. Like you say,
Mm-hmm.
you don't feel as if you're going to need another session. That's great. It's not good for business,
I know it's
but
rubbish.
it's but that's I'm not but like I say, I'm not in it to have people coming
Yeah.
back. I want one session, tick the box and see you later. On you go, enjoy your life. You have every single answer within you already, and that
Yes.
that goes that goes for all of us. So
I
yeah.
think that, you know, I met a woman a long, long time ago who used to run sort of workshops and things like that. And she said, you know, people go along and they train in mediumship and they train in this and they train in that. And actually, she said, it's all within us. And that's one thing that I've learned. if someone says to me, oh, can you tell me someone who can help me do X, Y, or Z? I say, go into yourself and just learn. And something like what you're doing with your sessions can give someone the tools to tap into that themselves, and not run scatty to a medium here or a friend here or a parent, because everyone else has got their own agenda.
Yeah, true.
Regardless of how well-meaning they are and how well-thinking they are and how much they love you, everyone else has their own agenda, and it's only you that knows exactly what's right for you. And doing something like your sessions gives you all of your power back.
Yeah.
It really is self-empowering.
And that's the thing about it. Yeah, that you don't, like I say, in life, we don't get handed the answers to our exams. We have to do the hard work. We have to put the effort into learning about how to tap into that knowledge, that wisdom that we carry. And you sit in meditation, or if you're praying, whatever you do, whatever your belief system you're doing, working with, you are you're just allowing that to come forward through synchronicity or through knowing whatever. It's beautiful how it unfolds in front of you, and the people you meet, or just any all of these beautiful synchronistic occurrences that happen within our lives can unfold that knowledge and wisdom. So yeah,
I think it sounds like a cliche that you get in a film, but it makes me a better person. Right. Because I did always take responsibility for everything that happened in my life, but now even more so. I can't blame anybody. If I trip over and fall, like the other day, I didn't have a car for 3 days and it was a pain. But at the same time, I thought if I'd had a car, I wouldn't have done X, Y, and Z. I wouldn't have had the experiences I had. And maybe if I'd been in my car, I'd have driven into a wall or something. Everything happens for a reason. It's all meant. So it makes you better. You can watch, not that I watch the news, but you can watch the horrors that are happening in the world and understand that that's, every soul is coming and going and having the experience that they have chosen to have. So I can't get bent out of shape about, other than sending out light and love, I can't get bent out of shape about what's happening in, Ukraine or anywhere.
Yeah. I can't echo those words enough myself. It's removing the victimhood, and it's those souls that are that we send them light. We want them healed. We don't want them to go through that experience, but they're going through that to teach us something that we're able to then create something beautiful out of the experience that we have out of it. That we can then send even more positive energy to these places and uplift their frequency, and then we're creating like Dolores Cannon said, the new earth. Sure. This is part of the journey that transmuting dark to light, but we can't unless we see the dark. The dark has to raise its ugly head, then we shine our light on it, and boom, this is what we do. And it's the duality that we paradoxically don't want, but unfortunately it's there.
Need to experience,
We need to experience it. Well, thank you for sharing your experience. I'll wrap it up there, but just want to thank you very much for taking part in this.
Well, actually, no, thank you.
Yeah, well, of course, it's just we'll share the love. Share the love. Yeah. You've got it written. It's written behind you. It's everywhere.